Here is an example of a question number 2 type of difficulty on an AMC10. The questions at the beginning of the AMC10 are usually a lot easier than the other ones in the AMC10 because they're to help you feel comfortable with the exam. In this question, there are some numbers that look like it will be very messy to simplify. I want to show 2 ways of doing this that show different insights as you do so. The first way is to just start simplifying the top and the bottom. The top is 1 over 15 minus 1 over 16. And this is, if I put a common denominator, 15 times 16, 16 minus 15, which is 1 divided by 15 times 16. This I'm showing again because it's a very nice fact that if I take 2 reciprocals of numbers that are consecutive integers, the difference is just 1 divided by their product. It's a beautiful fact. Okay, how do I simplify the bottom? I'm actually doing this on purpose with some numbers which are nice to know what their products are. 15 times 16. Whenever I multiply by 15, it's a lot easier to multiply by 30. And what I will do is I'll put 2 across. 30 times 8, now I can do quite easily. 1 over 240. Okay. And the other piece I have to do is 1 over 14 minus 1 over 15. Okay, and then this becomes, by the same idea as before, 1 over 14 times 15, which is going to be 1 over 7 times 30, which is 1 over 210. By the way, even though this method that I'm doing first is not the most efficient, I'm sharing it because the numbers that are appearing are numbers that you will see often whenever you do these sorts of questions. And so the more of those numbers you see, the more you're able to check your intermediate steps of saying, here's a number that is unfamiliar. Did I make a mistake? So here we have 210, and above we had this 240. Okay. 240, by the way, being 15 times 16, appears very, very often because 15 is a 3 times 5, which are small numbers, small primes, and a 16 is a power of 2. That's why 240 appears very commonly in these math problems. But to finish, what I have now is that I know that 1 over 240 is the top, and I'm supposed to divide that by the bottom, which is 1 over 210. And since the fractions are both reciprocals, the answer is 210 divided by 240. Which here, if I simplify, I can cancel out the 0. And then I can also cancel out a factor of 3. And that will give me 7 divided by 8. This is the way to do the question by brute force. But even though it's not the most efficient way, I wanted to do this so we can see those common numbers appearing. The other way to do this is to always save your calculations for the end. Don't multiply out first. First find out what you're supposed to multiply. If we go back to the first problem, now, if you know about the theory, which is why I wanted to go through it with the brute force, the theory is that this 240 is not actually important. This 240 is going to be 15 times 16 because these two are consecutive numbers. This 210 is also not important. The important part about the 210 is that this is 14 times 15. Once you see this, then you actually see that you can do a canceling right away. The 15 goes away. And so all you have is 14 divided by 16. And 14 divided by 16 is clearly 7 divided by 8. I showed this way, now the second way, because actually when you look at this question, you can even do the question in your head. With these sorts of problems, sometimes if you see very, very big numbers, it's useful to try to think, are there more elegant ways to do it? And one thing I love to do is I love to find the theories and the patterns. And here the theory that I recognize is happening is the difference of reciprocals of consecutive integers. When we do math problems, not just these kinds of math problems, but even more advanced research math problems, We're always looking for these sorts of patterns. So it's great to get used to looking for patterns from the time you're doing questions at this time.